Hey guys, tonight we're going to talk about the absolutely bonkers punishments that people used to dish out for crimes so minor. They'd barely qualify as a strongly worded Yelp review today. And here's the thing that'll keep you awake tonight, or maybe put you to sleep depending on your relationship with historical absurdity. These weren't just random acts of cruelty. These were official, government-sanctioned punishments that entire societies thought were perfectly reasonable responses to someone, say, stealing a loaf of bread or talking back to their boss. Alright, the time machine just dropped me off in 13th century London, and let me tell you, this place smells like what would happen if a fish market and a public bathroom had a baby, then abandoned it in a barn full of unwashed peasants. I'm watching a crowd gather around what looks like a wooden contraption that resembles a really aggressive photo booth. This, my friends, is the pillory, and it's about to become someone's very bad day for the crime of, wait for it, selling bread that was 2 ounces underweight. Now you might think, okay, that's fraud, right? Maybe a fine. Wrong. Dead wrong. This baker is about to spend the next 3 days with his head and hands locked in this wooden torture device, while the entire town throws whatever they can find at him. And when I say whatever they can find, I mean rotten vegetables, human waste, dead animals, and occasionally rocks, because apparently medieval crowds had the restraint of toddlers having a tantrum. The baker's standing there looking like a man who just realised he forgot to read the fine print on his business licence, which in this case was apparently written in blood and signed by someone with serious anger management issues. But here's where it gets really absurd. While I'm watching this poor guy get pelted with what appears to be a 3-week-old turnip, a town official is explaining to me that this punishment serves as a deterrent. A deterrent? As if bakers across England are going to see this and think, well, I was going to shortchange people on their daily bread, but now that I've seen Jeffrey get hit in the face with a dead pigeon for 3 consecutive days, I've reconsidered my business model. The crowd is really getting into it now. There's a woman who brought what looks like her entire week's worth of kitchen scraps, and she's rationing them out like she's planning a siege. A group of children are taking turns seeing who can hit the baker's forehead with apple cores, turning public humiliation into a medieval carnival game. And the baker? He's just standing there, locked in place, probably wondering how his life choices led him to become a human target practice dummy for the entertainment of people who think bathing once a month is excessive hygiene. This is justice in medieval England, folks, where the punishment for minor fraud was essentially being turned into a living, breathing stress ball for an entire community. Time to spin the dial again, and now I'm landing in ancient Rome, circa 50 AD. The time machine is making that angry bee sound again, but honestly, it's nothing compared to the sound of this place, which is like if you mixed a construction site with a livestock auction and threw in some gladiator practice for good measure. I'm witnessing something that would make a modern HR department collectively faint. A slave has just been sentenced to crucifixion. Not for murder, not for treason, not even for stealing something valuable. No, this guy's crime was talking back to his master in front of guests at a dinner party. Let me paint you a picture of what talking back meant in this context. The master asked for wine, the slave said, "The good wine or the cheap stuff you usually serve." Boom. Death sentence. That's it. That's the entire crime. A bit of sass that wouldn't even get you fired from a modern retail job just earned this guy a one-way ticket to the most brutal execution method the Romans could think of. The master is standing there looking like a man whose ego is so fragile it could shatter if you looked at it wrong, explaining to his guests that this is about maintaining proper order in the household. Meanwhile, the slave is looking around like he's trying to figure out if this is some kind of elaborate prank that's gone way too far. But here's the thing that really gets me about Roman justice. They had actual lawyers, actual courts, actual legal procedures for citizens. But if you were a slave, your master was basically your judge, jury, and executioner all rolled into one person who probably had the emotional maturity of a toddler who didn't get the toy they wanted. I'm watching the preparations for this crucifixion, and it's like watching someone use a nuclear weapon to kill a mosquito. The amount of effort, resources, and manpower going into executing someone for what amounts to workplace sarcasm is absolutely mind-boggling. There are soldiers, carpenters building the cross, officials documenting everything. It's like they're organising a small military operation to punish someone for having an attitude. The Roman Empire, folks, where they could build roads that lasted 2,000 years, but couldn't figure out that maybe, just maybe, murder was a slight overreaction to someone being a little cheeky. And the worst part, this wasn't unusual, This was just Tuesday in ancient Rome. Slaves were executed for breaking dishes, for being late, for looking at someone the wrong way. It was like living in a world where every minor inconvenience was treated like a capital offence. The time machine is whirring again, and this time I'm dropping into colonial Massachusetts, 1690-something. The place smells like wood smoke and religious fervour, with just a hint of that special kind of paranoia that comes from thinking your neighbours might be witches. I've just witnessed something that would make a modern party planner weep. A young woman being sentenced to 6 hours in the stocks for the heinous crime of dancing. Not dancing naked in the town square, not dancing on someone's grave, just regular dancing at what was apparently supposed to be a sombre community gathering. The woman is standing there looking like someone who just got a parking ticket for breathing, while a Puritan elder explains her sentence with the kind of righteous indignation usually reserved for war crimes. According to this guy, dancing is an invitation to the devil and corrupts the moral fibre of the community. Now, these stocks aren't just uncomfortable, they're basically designed to turn human beings into pretzel-shaped objects of public shame. Your feet are locked in one position, your hands in another, and you're bent over at an angle that would make a chiropractor rich. And you stay like this for hours while everyone in town walks by to judge your life choices. But here's what's really getting to me about this whole scene. While this woman is being punished for moving her body to music, something humans have been doing since we figured out how to make noise, there are actual criminals walking around free. I just saw a guy who definitely stole someone's chicken, and another who's been watering down his milk, but they're fine because they didn't commit the ultimate sin of expressing joy through coordinated movement. The Puritan elder is now giving a speech about how dancing leads to moral corruption and sinful thoughts. Meanwhile, I'm thinking this guy has clearly never been to a wedding reception, because if dancing led to moral corruption, every culture on earth would have collapsed by now. The crowd that's gathered to watch this punishment looks like they're attending the world's most depressing theatre performance. Everyone's dressed in colours that would make a funeral seem festive, and they're all nodding along like this makes perfect sense. And the woman in the stocks? She's probably wondering how her life led to a moment where moving her feet in rhythm became a criminal offence punishable by public humiliation, and what I can only assume is going to be some serious back pain. This is colonial justice, folks, where you could literally be punished for being happy in public. Final stop on our tour of historical judicial disasters, Victorian England, 1850-something. The time machine lands with what sounds like a steam engine having an existential crisis, which honestly fits the mood of this place perfectly. I'm standing outside a workhouse that looks like someone designed a building specifically to crush the human spirit, and I've just learned about a punishment that would make modern social workers organise a revolution. A 10-year-old boy has been sentenced to 2 weeks of hard labour for the crime of stealing an apple. Not a bag of apples, not someone's entire fruit cart, one apple. The kid was hungry, saw an apple, took it, and now he's about to spend 2 weeks breaking rocks and picking apart old rope with his bare hands, because apparently Victorian society thought the appropriate response to childhood hunger was child labour. The workhouse official explaining this to me has the kind of moustache that looks like he glued a small animal to his upper lip, and he's talking about moral instruction and teaching proper values while describing what is essentially legalised child abuse. But here's the part that really makes my time-travelling brain hurt. This same society that thinks a hungry child deserves hard labour just passed laws protecting animals from cruelty. They literally cared more about the welfare of horses than they did about 10-year-old humans. I'm watching this kid walk into the workhouse, and he looks like someone who's just realised that being born poor in Victorian England was basically a crime in itself. The system here isn't designed to rehabilitate or help, it's designed to punish people for the audacity of existing while having no money. The irony is thick enough to cut with a knife. This is the same era that gave us Charles Dickens writing about the injustices of poverty, while simultaneously creating real-life Oliver Twists, and then punishing them for asking for more. Inside the workhouse, I can see rows of people breaking stones, picking apart rope, and doing other mind-numbing tasks that serve no purpose except to make being poor as miserable as possible. It's like someone took the concept of punishment and applied it to the basic human condition of needing food and shelter. The Victorian approach to minor crimes wasn't just disproportionate, it was actively cruel in a way that seemed designed to create more problems than it solved. But hey, at least their moral values were intact, right? Well, that's our journey through history's greatest hits of completely unreasonable punishments. From medieval bread-weighing disasters to Victorian child labour sentences, humans have consistently proven that when it comes to proportional justice, we've had the collective wisdom of a goldfish with anger management issues. Sweet dreams, and remember, next time you think modern justice is harsh, just be grateful you're not living in a time when dancing could land you in medieval timeout. Drive safe out there, and don't forget to hit subscribe because apparently I've got nothing better to do than time travel through humanity's worst ideas.